Aren't you coming?" she said into the phone.
"Can't. I'm following up some leads on the latest cash thief."
Come on, Adam. You've been working too much. Take some time to yourself. You need a break. Adam?
He looked off into another direction. "Maybe some other time."
Suddenly, a silhouette leapt off a rooftop and onto another.
"Gotta go."
He pressed the earpiece and hung up on her. Adam, Hey, Kathy, come on, let's go. Kathy, in her costume, turned to her friends and ran to hop in the car. They sped off towards the convention center. Blue leapt from the building and dropped into a roll and sprinted after the silhouette. It suddenly turned just as Blue slid behind an air conditioning unit. The silhouette paused, then, convinced it was not being followed, took off again. Blue spun around the corner and continued his silent chase. Kathy stood amongst her costume friends as they walked under the main banner into the main hotel lobby. World Dragon Convention was written everywhere. The most famous sci-fi to the least simple TV show all have booths with their titles on them, and just as many hundreds of people, some in costumes and some dressed normally, milling about. Kathy and her friends walked into the fray. Blue slinked around another dark rooftop. He looked left and then right. Lost him. Then the silhouette suddenly reappeared out of a nearby doorway. Flick, click. A boomerang appeared from Blue's belt and flew through the air. Thok. It impacted the shadowy figure's head. He dropped his bag, and cash slid across the nighttime rooftop. The man, on all fours, rubbed the back of his neck as he shook the dizziness off. Then he rolled just before Blue's knee impacted his temple, heavily denting the nearby air vent instead. He rolled and jumped up. Blue landed a flying kick that the man blocked, but still fell off balance from. The man, in black, staggered backwards, then tripped over a pipe and hit a bright-lit skylight. He grabbed where he could, and flipped back as Blue's axe kick cracked the glass further, then used that foot to lift himself up onto the glass. Kathy and her friends visited a small booth involving what appeared to be a telephone booth and time travel. She grinned with her friends in excitement at all the knickknacks. Far, far above, in the high ceiling of the lobby, Blue and his enemy stood in the middle of the massive skylight. Punch, kick, block, hit, block, counter, crack. They froze. Crack. They looked down. Crack. They looked back. They were too far from the ledge of the glass to make it. Snap. They stared back at each other. Bust. Blue suddenly, simultaneously grabbed the man and tossed out a grapple, automatically attaching it to his belt. It barely managed to meet the edge of the skylight frame as they plummeted. Kathy heard the glass break and looked up. Everyone scattered from under the skylight. It all seemed to happen in slow motion. There Blue fell, and someone else through the skylight as well. Suddenly, about 20 feet before the ground, the cable locked and yanked tight, keeping Blue from falling. But the sudden stop broke his grip on the thief, who plummeted to the ground below. The man landed on his side. A sickening crack resounded as shoulder dislocated and humerus broke. The man tried to stand, but Blue released the cable lock and dropped. Bam! He landed on the thug, knocking him to the ground. Blue stood. The thug did too. He swung his good arm and backhanded Blue and sprinted into the crowd. But there, the butt of a fake rifle impacted the thief's head. Blue stepped forward and sent a two-handed smash into the base of the man's skull. He passed out, slowly dropping to his knees, and then face first into the carpet. Blue stepped forward and handcuffed the man, then yanked the thug's ski mask off. Several T-visored costumers stepped forward, apparently the ones who stopped the thug. The one in the lead gave a slow, silent, subtle nod to Blue, who just stared impassionately back. Blue turned to leave, but froze dead in his tracks when his eyes passed over a certain costumed bystander. Then he stepped past those in front, and towards one he saw in green. They all watched. The one in green stepped back, uncertain of what to do. Her mask moved from side to side, looking to her peers. Then she stopped. Blue stood there, looking down on her. Then he reached up and touched her mask, and slowly lifted it from her face. Her blue eyes looked up at his, uncertain, fearfully curious. Blue stepped back, shocked. The woman could only stare in fearful uncertainty in return. Kathy watched from across the room. What was Blue doing? Security pressed through the crowd as best they could. Blue backed up, then activated his cable, slowly pulling him into the air, staring at her till he rose out of sight. Kathy watched with everyone else for a second, then looked back to the woman in the crowd. Who was she? On a nearby rooftop.
"Looks like you made it anyway,"
Kathy said. Blue's shadow stood at the building's edge. Kathy stood still in her costume behind him on the building.
"I told my friends I had to go to the bathroom."
She stood awaiting answers. Like usual nowadays, Blue didn't give them whenever she wanted him to.
"Well?"
Well, what?
"Who was that?"
The cash thief. I tracked him to the event. This was the biggest event tonight he could get this near untraceable currency from. Triangulating his thefts, I could tell what direction he would be coming from. All I had to do was watch and wait. And I knew I'd see him.
"You know that's not what I meant."
Silence again. She sighed and then began to approach him.
He killed everyone I ever knew. Everyone.
She froze. Then she got it.
"Except her."
She slowly concluded and soon understood. Questions collided like a train wreck in her head. Why would Mayhem spare one person? Who else was alive in Adam's life, if any? Especially if she was just some normal girl at a convention. Or was she? She looked down and thought. Then she got a text and checked it. Her friends asked where she was.
"But who is she?"
She said, as she pressed the buttons on her phone screen.
"And why wasn't she also, killed? I mean, what's special about her?"
She looked up, delivering this sentence, and saw Blue was gone. Her face dulled with lack of humor.
"I'm starting to get really tired of that,"
she thought.